I've been fasting the past 68 hours, which is a little less than 4 days, and I still have about a day to go. Today, we're gonna be talking all about fasting, the benefits of it, should you do it? We're gonna bust a lot of the common myths about fasting. We're gonna dive into the science and the history of fasting. So when you're ready, let's jump in. So how do you know if you're somebody out there that needs to incorporate a fast into your regular routine? Well, if you are struggling with excess weight, digestive issues, if you can't miss a meal, or you can't go 3 or 4 hours without feeling hangry, you're struggling with skin issues or brain fog, that's a sign that you probably need to incorporate some sort of fast into your regular routine. Now, if you're somebody out there that's thinking about incorporating fasting into your regular routine, whether that's intermittent fasting, alternate day fasting, or a short 3-day fast, or even a more long-term fast, 7 days or more, there's a ton of health benefits that come with all of these different types of fasts. And these benefits are all backed by incredible peer-reviewed science that we're about to talk about today. Like fasting helps to lower inflammation, it improves skin and complexion, it can reverse aging and extends longevity, it can even potentially prevent Alzheimer's disease. It also accelerates the fat burning process, can stabilize your blood sugar, it improves mental clarity and concentration, regulates metabolism, and so much more. Now, before we jump into some of the common myths and benefits of fasting, I just want to touch on the brief history about it, because fasting isn't a new invention or a new concept. The truth is, we didn't always have food readily available like we do today. You can go down to the grocery store, you can call up Uber Eats. Now we have food abundance, but for the vast majority of human history, we just didn't have food readily available all the time. And the truth is, there was periods of feast where we had abundance of food, and then there was periods of famine where we didn't have food. We might not have had a successful hunt, we might not have had successful foraging, we might not have had a successful fishing trip. There was just a lot of periods where we just didn't always have food. And from this evolutionary standpoint, the concept of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 3 meals a day and snacking in between, this is a really new concept in our culture today. This was really born out of the Industrial Revolution, when husbands had to go to work, the wives would stay at home and pack the lunches for the men, they would come home and have dinner ready. They needed that fuel in the morning to prepare them for a long day at work, where we just didn't have that luxury. And kind of almost by evolutionary accident, have we come to develop health benefits when we were in these periods of famine. Because remember this, eating is a very catabolic state. When we are eating food, we're kind of breaking things down. That's what catabolic means, we're breaking things down. But when we are in a fasted state, like you are sleeping, that is a repair process. Humans aren't designed to be digesting food 24/7. We need to ingest high quality nutrient-dense foods to allow our bodies to absorb that. And then we need to have a period of quote unquote famine, a fasted state, in order to repair. Because fasting in and of itself is an anabolic process that just means to build back up. And the cool thing is, when you can extend that fasting period just a little bit, I'm not talking crazy amounts, just a little bit, maybe just a few hours, you can reap some pretty incredible health benefits that we're about to talk about today. Now, as we evolved out of more hunter-gatherer times and into more civilized cultures where we had food readily available, cultures still wanted to practice fasting because they understood all the health benefits that came along with it. Every culture that you look at throughout time had some form of regular fasting protocol included into their regular dietary patterns. Even though food was readily available to them, they still voluntarily chose to engage into fasting protocols. But why would they do that? Why would they choose not to eat? Because they understood that it came with a ton of health benefits. Now, reiterating this point that fasting isn't a new concept, because in our world today, we have food readily available. We have tens of thousands of new foods in the grocery store that have just been invented within the past few generations, the past 100 years. We have social media where everything is out there in the open. It might seem like restricting food is a form of an eating disorder in our current world today, but throughout time, I mean, cultures have always practiced fasting, and really, I've always said that you can't create a disordered food environment and then when you try and go back to eat how we've always eaten, say that that's the problem. Now, staying with the point that fasting isn't a new concept or invention, I want to run through a list of all the cultures and health practitioners throughout time that regularly practice fasting. Now, the first one is Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine. He was one of the early adopters of a fasting protocol for many individuals. individuals. He would often advise his patients for the treatment of obesity, a high-fat diet, and only eat once per day. Now, the Greek Orthodox religion also practiced fasting, so much so that nearly 200 days out of the year, they would fast, which would mean they would eat less days than they would actually be fasting for. Then we have the Buddhist monks that would commonly fast all day afternoon and then not eat again until breakfast the next morning. Even in Ayurvedic medicine, which is very popular, they believed that fasting, engaging in a regular fasting protocol, could relieve the body of many different types of toxins. The Greek gods, the ancient Greeks practiced fasting and believed that they were better problem solvers and would be better solving puzzles because their brains worked better when they engaged in fasting. Even our own Benjamin Franklin, shout out to the $100 bill, Benjamin Franklin once wrote, quote, "The best of all medicines is resting and fasting." And our boy Mark Twain, he even said, quote, "A little starvation can really do more for the average sick man than can the best medicines and the best doctors." This is really powerful because all these people come from many different walks of life, different time periods, different countries, different backgrounds, but yet they all understood that fasting could come with incredible health benefits. And the thing that is amazing to me is that they didn't have the peer-reviewed science. They didn't have randomized controlled trials. They didn't have the modern day science like we have today affirming these things. They went based off of firsthand experience, intuition, and time-tested practices. What I love to do is I love to blend modern day science, high quality randomized controlled trials, along with what humans have been doing the longest. That's how we can find out what's really close to being the truth. And the truth is today, fasting has incredible health benefits. There's some myths that we're about to jump into, but there's also a ton of health benefits. And if you're watching this right now, odds are you can engage in some form of fasting protocol, whether that is a intermittent fast, a short day fast, alternate day fasting, or a 3 or 4 day fast like I'm currently doing, or even an extended 7+ day fast up to maybe a couple weeks. Now, while in today's world, we have a profoundly sick society. People are struggling and they need answers. And fasting is often used as a tool to help people recover and get better that are struggling with illness. But I should note that throughout time, fasting wasn't necessarily used as a tool to help people that were struggling with illness. It was used as a tool for wellness. It was used to keep people from getting sick. Because I'm not struggling, I'm not sick right now, but I'm doing a fasting protocol because there's science that shows that it helps your immune system to come back even stronger and that it helps with a host of things. So I'm doing this as a preventative measure. And if you're somebody out there that is not struggling with your health, but you're just looking to optimize your long-term health, then fasting is still something that I believe that you should regularly engage in. It's just finding the right fasting protocol for you. Now think about this logically. When you are feeling sick, when you have the cold or a flu, what is pretty much the last thing that you want to do? The last thing that I want to do is eat a lot of food. Why is that? Because naturally in the wild, every animal doesn't want to eat a lot when they are feeling sick, when they're feeling run down, because like I just mentioned, when we are in a fasted state, our body needs to cleanse and repair and build back up. If we are constantly ingesting food and other substances at that time, then our body's not able to cycle through some of these repair processes that I'm about to talk about, autophagy and apoptosis. That's why in today's world, when we are sick, we are told to just drink liquids or broths or soup, like the chicken noodle soup, Mom's, or the Sprite or the ginger ale. We're told to just drink a lot of liquids, eat light, because this concept of fasting has just been passed down to us from generation to generation throughout time. Now, what's cool is that we have science today, peer-reviewed randomized controlled trials today showing why this is effective for helping us to get better. In a 2014 study, researchers found that by doing a 3-day fast, consuming less than 200 calories a day, this can actually reset some components of your immune system. Doing this 3-day fast, it actually lowered people's white blood cell counts, but only to come back even stronger. This is a form of hormesis. Basically, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. This is environmental hormesis. So it stresses you out just a little bit, but you're gonna come back even stronger. That's why we fast when we're sick. And that's why I'm fasting now, so that way I can basically get stronger, come back even better. What's up, guys? Real quick, if you're loving this content about fasting, then you are going to love these 2 supplements right here that can help take your fasting protocol to the next level. The first thing that I have is ancestral minerals. This is basically electrolytes that can help to replenish your body. You're drinking a lot of liquids, you might be flushing a lot of things out. This is going to help keep you hydrated because you need electrolytes like magnesium, potassium, chloride, sodium, wildflower bee pollen, and Atlantic kelp. This is going to help you to actually hydrate your cells because it's not actually the water that's hydrating, training, it's the electrolytes. And that's what ancestral minerals are, all in the most bioavailable forms from the most pristine sources. So check that out. I'm also taking this grass-fed colostrum in powdered form from Ancestral Supplements because colostrum is incredible at helping the gut. And right now I'm in a fasting protocol. I have everything cleared out of my digestive tract. I'm just doing juices, bone broth, water, electrolytes. That's it. And so when I can ingest a little bit of colostrum, it's kind of like a nice cheat code. There's very minimal, if any, calories in these little packets, and your gut is getting flooded with some nutrients in colostrum that are unique to colostrum alone that can help to repair the gut lining, help leaky gut, help your immune system, and so many more things. So if you're looking to take your fasting protocol to the next level, give ancestral minerals and grass-fed colostrum a try today. Now I want to talk about 5 common myths of fasting that a lot of people have. And I want to start off with number 1, fasting puts you in starvation mode. This is not true. Now, there's a difference between voluntary fasting, like I talked about, and then true starvation. When we're talking about this starvation mode, this is talking about your metabolism. It might cause your metabolism to just shut off, but that doesn't actually happen. In fact, there's science that shows that your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, actually doesn't change all that much. There was one study where participants fasted every other day, so this is alternate day fasting, for 22 days. This is a little over 3 weeks, and there was no difference in their basal metabolic rate, which is the amount of energy that our body burns to function optimally. Now, on average, in this study, their fat burning increased by 58%, and their carbohydrate oxidation, which is their sugar burning capacity, this decreased by 53%. This means they were becoming more metabolically flexible and learning how to use both sources of fuel properly, because that's what we're ultimately trying to do. You want to be able to miss a meal and not have to rely on sugar as fuel, because if you can miss lunch or miss dinner and feel good, that's what we're ultimately trying to get at, is learning how to use our own body fat as fuel, learn how to use the fat that we're eating for fuel, and how to use sugar for fuel. And engaging in regular periods of fasting that's going to stress us out a little bit, that's going to help us to be able to use carbs for fuel and fat for fuel. Now, the second common myth about fasting is that fasting causes you to burn muscle. This is also not true. Did you ever wonder why we have body fat to begin with? Why did nature, God, whatever you prescribe to, why did we get designed to have body fat in times of food abundance? It's because of this reason, so that way we have excess energy to burn when there's food scarcity. The problem is, in our environment today, food scarcity never comes. Winter's never coming for us because there's always food available. So we need to give our bodies periods of famine because we have so much feast going on. Just a little bit. I'm not talking about doing a crazy fast, just a couple hours or a couple days here and there. Our bodies are so intelligent that it actually, when it burns through our stored glycogen, because we have stored glucose in our liver and we have stored glucose in our muscles. This is sugar. And when we burn through that, we start burning our own body fat. It takes about a day, 24 hours to burn through all that stored glycogen. But as soon as we are able to burn through that, then and only then can we burn our stored body fat as fuel. The problem is most people are eating every few hours and probably not the best foods, and then they're never able to access their stored body fat. So if you can engage in maybe just a 16-hour intermittent fast, finish eating at 6 o'clock at night, and then not again until 10 o'clock the next morning, that is an incredible way and a really cheat code to boost your body's fat burning ability. Burning muscle can really be seen as a last resort. So unless you're somebody out there with severely low body weight and severely low body fat, you don't have to worry about losing muscle. Now, you might lose the gains a little bit because a lot of that water retention is coming out. You're probably peeing a lot of water retention out, but you're not losing muscle mass. You're just kind of losing that water weight that's in there. And when we're talking about losing muscle mass during fasting, it's actually kind of the opposite, because fasting, engaging in a regular fasting protocol, is one of the main things that helps to boost our growth hormone levels. There was a recent study in 47 people that found that HGH, human growth hormone levels, increased 5-fold during a 24-hour fast. Think about that. You fast, you're not eating, but you were recovering. You're going anabolic, you're building yourself back up. You were boosting your growth hormone, all naturally, just by something that's free. You don't have to pay for it. You just don't eat. There was another study where participants did alternate day fasting for 70 days, over 3 months, and what the researchers found is that their weight reduced by 6%, but fat mass decreased by 11%, and muscle mass didn't change at all. So when they did alternate day fasting every other day for 70 days, they just lost body fat and not muscle mass. So you don't have to worry about losing muscle if you want to try a fasting protocol. Now, a third common myth about fasting is that fasting is going to cause low blood sugar. This isn't true for the overwhelming vast majority of people because our blood sugar needs to be tightly regulated at all times. And kind of just like I was talking about, we have stored glycogen for a reason. So if we're not bringing in food, your body has all these built-in reserves to access to keep your blood sugar steady at all times. And so once your body goes through that stored glycogen, your stored liver glycogen, your stored muscle glycogen, then your body's going to turn to a process called gluconeogenesis. Gluco meaning sugar, neogenesis is creation. So you're literally creating glucose. And where do you think this comes from? This is coming from the backbone of body fat. So this is what's happening. You're burning that stored glycogen and you're burning your own body fat, which is actually in a way getting turned into sugar, which is then able to keep your blood sugar steady. Now, if you're somebody out there that can't miss a meal, you feel hungry if you miss a meal, hangry, Betty White hangry, if you're that Snickers commercial, if you're feeling rough because you can't miss that meal, this is a sign that you are not metabolically healthy or metabolically flexible. You should be able to miss a meal and not want to tear your neighbor's head off because you didn't get your food. So if you're somebody out there that is struggling like this and you start a fasting protocol and you miss a meal and you feel blurry or hangry, it might take a little time for your body to kind of regulate itself. So don't give up just yet, keep going with it. I was like that when I first started fasting, but as soon as your body starts making ketones and you learn how to adequately use your own body fat as fuel, then you'll feel clear-headed, you'll have energy, you'll be able to miss a meal, and you'll feel really good. Now, the fourth common myth about fasting is that it causes you to overeat. Now, listen, I've done many fasts in my life. I've been doing it for over a decade now, and I routinely do intermittent fasting, and never once have I overeaten the next meal because I just underate or I didn't eat. After this fast is over for me, I'm doing a 3 to 4 day fast. I know me, I've done this before. I'm not going to eat a ton of food. I'm probably only going to eat maybe half the amount that I normally would naturally, just because my body's hormones are kind of getting readjusted. It's just naturally what happens. You don't make up for all the calories that you didn't eat, if that makes sense. Now, there is a caveat with this. If you go back, break your fast, and you start eating ultra processed foods like Oreos, pizza, chips, cookies, ice cream, you're going out and eating all of these junk food, all these ultra processed foods that are designed to be overeaten, then yes, you're probably going to overeat because companies and scientists out there are literally in a lab creating these foods with a perfect combination of carbs, fats, salt, and sugar that cause you to overeat these foods. I mean, it's so hard to eat a baked potato, but if you add butter to that baked potato, it's probably a lot easier to eat, combining the fat and the carbs together. But if you're just eating a high protein meal, nutrient dense foods that have a lot of vitamins and minerals in it, whole food based diet, you're not going to overeat. So that's just a common myth. Now, the last common myth about fasting is that fasting is going to cause your body to become nutrient deficient. If you're doing just alternate day fasting and then you're replenishing your body with a nutrient dense meal, or you're doing a 3 or 4 day fast like me and then you start eating nutrient dense foods again, you don't have anything to worry about. This is not going to deprive your body of micronutrients. Maybe in the short term, like I mentioned, you need this kind of repair process to have that anabolic processes build you back up and get stronger. So you don't have to worry about becoming chronically nutrient deficient. There's more people out there that are eating a ton of ultra processed foods that are nutrient deficient than people that are eating a whole food based diet and engaging in regular fasting protocols, because ultra processed foods contain very little to no vitamins or minerals. So if you're just alternate day fasting or intermittent fasting or doing fast like I'm doing, a 3 to 4 day fast once or twice out of the year, you have nothing to worry about as long as you're eating whole foods regularly throughout the rest of the year. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this content today where we talked all about the history of fasting, all the different myths that we debunked today. If you enjoyed this content, then you are absolutely going to love part 2, where we talk all about the benefits of different fasts. If you want, check out that video. Just click the link right here, and I'll see you there.